The Rockabilly Moment. There are four of them in the little studio. Bill Black, the bass player, Scotty Moore, the guitarist, in the back, Sam Phillips, the producer, and the sexy young kid thumping his guitar as he sings Elvis Presley. Just 1954. Sam Phillips is doing all right for himself. He has been among the first to record men who will be giants in the world of post-war blues. B.B. King, Junior Parker, and the Howlin' Wolf himself. The names on Phillips' roster show his willingness to try anything. Wonderful names like Big Memphis Ma Rainey, the Ripley Cotton Choppers, Dr. Ross, Hard Rock Gunter, Rufus, Bearcat Thomas, Billy the Kid Emerson, the Prisonaires, a vocal group from the State Pen, the immortal Hot Shot Love. There are plenty more knocking on the door, and with no more than this, Phillips' place in history of American music would be assured, not that a place in history is quite what he is looking for. In the records Phillips makes, you can discern something more than taste, something like vision. He has cooked up a sound all his own, hot, fierce, overbearing, full of energy and desire. A sound to jump right out of the jukebox. But Phillips wants money, a lot of it, and he wants something new. Deep down in a place not even he sees clearly, he wants to set the world on its ear. The kid with the guitar is unusual, but they've been trying to put something on the tape. Sam keeps running back, a ballad, a hillbilly song, anything. And so far, well, it just doesn't get it. The four men cool it for a moment, frustrated. They share a feeling they could pull something off if they hit it right. But it's been a while, and that feeling is slipping away, as it always does. They talk music, blues, crud up. Ever hear that? Who you kidding, man? Dig this. The kid pulls his guitar up, clowns a bit. He throws himself at a song. That's all right, mama, that's all right. Eat shit. He doesn't say that naturally, but that's what he's found in the tune. His voice slides over the lines as the two musicians come in behind him. Scotty picking up the melody and the bass man slapping away at his axe. Phillips hears it, likes it, makes up his mind. All right, you got something. Do it again. I'll get it down. Just like that. Don't mess with it. Keep it simple. They cut the song fast, put down their instruments, vaguely embarrassed at how far they went into the music. Sam plays back the tape. Man, they'll run us out of town when they hear it, Scotty says. Elvis sings along with himself, joshing his performance. They all wonder, but not too much. Get on home now, Sam says. I got to figure out what to do with this. They leave, but Sam Phillips is perplexed. Who was going to play this crazy record? White jocks won't touch it because it's nigger music, and colored will pass because it's hillbilly. It sounds good, it sounds sweet, but maybe it's just too weird? The hell with it. Sam Phillips released the record. What followed was the heyday of Sun Records and rockabilly music, a moment when boys were men and men were boys, when full-blown legends emerged that still walked the land and the lesser folk simply went along for the ride. Rockabilly was a fast, aggressive music, simple, snappy drumming, sharp guitar licks, wild country boogie piano, the music of kids who came from all over the South to make records for Sam Phillips and his imitators. Rockabilly came and it went. There was never that much of it. And even including Elvis's first Sun singles, all the rockabilly hits put together sold less than Fats Dominoes. But rockabilly fixed the crucial image of rock and roll, the sexy, half-crazed fool standing on stage singing his guts out. Most important, the image was white. Rockabilly was the only style of early rock and roll that proved white boys could do it all, that they could be as strange, as exciting, as scary, and as free as the black men who were suddenly walking America's airwaves as if they owned them. There were two kinds of white counterattack on the black invasion of white popular culture that was rock and roll, the attempt to soften black music or freeze it out, and the rockabilly lust to beat the black man at his own game. Sam Phillips had the imagination to take in a country folk singer like Johnny Cash, and a Stan Kenton fan like Charlie Rich. He was commercial enough to get rock and roll out of both of them. Phillips gave a funny-looking kid named Roy Orbison the chance to growl that no girl had the style to match him, and the music to prove it. Sun tossed up Warren Smith, who claimed he had a girl who looked like a frog. Sonny Burgess, who dyed his hair red to match his red suit and his red Cadillac, and told anyone who would listen he wanted to boogie with a red-headed woman. Sun offered us Billy Lee Riley, who blithely argued that rock and roll was so strange it had to come from Mars. The Little Green Men taught him how to do the bop, was the way he put it. Carl Perkins found greatness here and nowhere else. Jerry Lee Lewis simply took greatness as his due. Quote, I played on him, end of quote, Jerry Lee told an interviewer who had asked the names of the musicians who had played on his records. Quote, what else do you need to know, end of quote. Jerry Lee stormed his way through the whorehouse rock of deep Elm blues like Elmer Gantry moonlighting from the revival tent, celebrating the Dallas red light district that crawled with sin and blues piano. He tumbled into Big-Legged Woman, leering at an imaginary audience with the arrogance that would bring him down. Quote, let me tell you something. What I'm talking about. I bet my bottom dollar there ain't a cherry in this house. While it lasted, Sun was a space of freedom, a place to take chances. The music Sun produced was ominous, funny, kicking up rhythm and bursting with exuberance, determination, and urgency, full of self-conscious novelty and experiment. Most of the first rock and roll styles were variations on black forms that had taken shape before the white audience moved in and forced those forms to turn its way. Rockabilly was almost self-contained, a world of its own and as authentically new as any music can be. Back in those days, I knew some country kids who captured the spirit of this music as well as any 45. Farm boys, long, lean, tough, and good-humored, they flashed me my first picture of Little Richard, kicked raccoons to death with their bare feet, rustled sheep, chased Indian girls into the bushes, and made it into town on Saturday night to watch the razor fights. They were easy to idolize. One night they got drunk, drove their car to the railroad tracks, and got themselves blown to pieces. Rockabilly was squeaky Charlie Feathers, a country singer of no special talent or even much drive. Trekking up to Cincinnati after failures at Sun for the chance to yell, "Ah, turn it loose," and then disappear. He reached once and he missed, but these lines have stayed with me ever since a scratchy tape of his one great song arrived in the mail. Well, I'm a tip-top daddy, and I'm gonna have my way. Don't you worry about me, baby, don't worry what they say. I got one hand, baby, let it swing by my side. Just give me one hand loose and I'll be satisfied. Satisfied. Quote, maybe someday your name will be in lights, end of quote, Chuck Berry promised the young rockers, and most of them never got past the maybe. There was a price for all the unexpected vitality and flash. Carl Perkins still billing himself, quote, the king of rock and roll on the thin line of one hit and a score of failures. Sunk into alcohol, Johnny Cash nearly killed himself on pills. Gene Vincent found himself exiled to England, where some still remembered, and died of a bleeding ulcer before he was 40. Johnny Burnett, Eddie Cochran, Buddy Holly, chasing after Elvis's pot of gold, died in accidents in fast cars and chartered planes. Most simply vanished and were forgotten. If they were lucky enough to have been known at all, they fell back into the predictability of country music or the day-to-day sameness they had meant to escape. All they left behind was rock and roll and an audience that 20 years later was still acting out their fantasies and seeking novelty and amusement in their ghosts. It was an explosion, and standing over it all was Elvis. In the single year he recorded for Sam Phillips, July 1954 through July 1955, 10 sides were released. 4 more were used by RCA to fill up Elvis's first album. About half derived from country songs, the rest took off from blues. His music stands to the rest of rockabilly as genius does to talent. The blues especially have not dated at all. Not a note is false, their excitement comes through, the years intact, unburdened by cuteness, mannerism, or posturing. For most of us, the songs are unburdened by any sort of nostalgia as well. In their time, they were little heard outside of the South, and most turned up on albums only when Elvis was off in the army and RCA had to scrape its vaults for something to release. None ever made the national pop charts. Today they are rarely played on the radio, though spinning the dial on Elvis's 38th birthday, I picked up That's All Right on a country station. Until 1976, Colonel Parker, or Elvis himself, deemed it vital that the king be protected from his past. So the songs were not, as with most classic rock, reissued in a package that might attract an audience. Given the publicity with most classic rock, given the publicity that has come with Elvis, these sides remained almost invisible, the result of a pre-pop moment. But their result is as public as rock and roll. From one point of view, they are the basis of the whole show. So there's a lot of power packed into these records, and not all of it is musical. Nothing is stylized. The music is clean, straight, open, and free. That's what these sides are about, finding space in the crunch of the worn out and Finding space in the crunch of the worn out and overfamiliar, finding a way to feel free in that space and finding the voice to put that feeling across. The best evidence of Sam Phillips' spirit is in the sound of the records. Each song is clear, direct, uncluttered, and blended into something coherent. There's that famous echo slapping back at the listener and a bubbling tension that is never quite resolved, no comforts of vocal accompaniment. But the risk of one young man on his own. The sound is all presence, as if Black and Moore each took a step straight off the record and Elvis was somehow squeezed right into the mic. I went into the studio, Sam Phillips recalled years later, to draw out a person's innate, possibly unknown talents, present them to the public, and let the public be the judge. I had to be a psychologist and know how to handle each artist and how to enable him to be at his best. I went with the idea that an artist should have something not just good, but totally unique. When I found someone like that, I did everything in my power to bring it out. The sides Phillips cut with Elvis might have worked in the 20s, and they might do for the 80s. Not simply as listenable music, there's no doubt about that, but as music that still sounds new, that still breaks things open.